If you're upgrading attack before health, there's a good chance you're making every future battle harder. And I know that sounds weird because when you first start playing Age of Empire Mobile, everything pushes you towards the damage. You unlock attack upgrades, you unlock more might, you see the bigger numbers, you kill things faster. It feels like you're getting stronger. But after watching more fights, after testing different marches, and especially after looking at reports from players with stronger accounts than mine, and to be fair, it's not that hard to have more strong account at this point. I think a lot of us have been measuring strange completely wrong. Because the players who consistently win trades aren't always the one with the highest attack. They're usually the one that simply refuse to die. And that's a very different way of looking at the progression. I think one of the biggest traps in strategy games is we judge upgrades by what we get immediately and what we immediately see. Attack is visible, you hit harder. Your damage numbers go up, you feel rewarding. Health doesn't feel exciting. You spent valuable resources and nothing really changed your screen. There is no giant critical hits, there is no massive damage increase. It's almost feel boring. But battles aren't won because one skill hit 5% more harder, because battles are won because your march are still alive when there isn't. That's the difference. The longer your march survive, the more skills is going to cast, the more secondary attack is going to get triggered, the more healing is going to receive, the more buffs stay active. The more damage it deal over time, the entire is just doing more damage over the entire fight. Health isn't just more survivability, it's actually more damage over time. This is part I think most players completely overlook. And I'm also guilty over that because when I start, especially with my researches, I was focusing over the research that is boosting the attack. Right now, you can clearly see that going for my cavalry, I boost my HP. I'm getting more cavalry health. I'm getting more cavalry defense. Now, currently, right now, I'm comparing like attack with the HP, but defense is also in this number. And as you can see, the cavalry attack is not that high leveled up. It's like 3 from 5. I definitely have to want to make everything 5 from 5, but by doing the right priorities, I understand just the survivability on the battlefield is more important. Now, people are using one term in Age of Empire Mobile. This is glass cannon, where you basically hit harder, but you're very squishy. And to be fair, for me personally, this is not the right approach. You want to be there, you want to do more, how to say it, more skill triggers, signature skill, commander skill, second commander signature, whatever. Just do more skills. Just do more skills. From there is going to come your damage. You can also go with huge attack, but you're just going to die way more faster. So even sometimes you may get catch it up, so you're not even going to have a chance to do some damage. Till if you have some more HP, you definitely at least going to survive little longer to at least trigger one spell. And to be fair, I used to believe in the positive because, as I mentioned, we're seeing the numbers, we get excited, and this excitement is very nice. It's very nice when you see criticals. Okay, it's very nice. I'm not gonna lie, but in the core, I start believing the HP is the right path. For a long time, I upgrade attack whether I could because what was made sense in my head. If I kill them faster, I win. Simple. Now, this is something that I was believing even for a very long time because, if you kill them more faster, you're going to just reduce the time they have in on the battlefield to actually trigger their spells. So if you kill them faster, they're going to trigger less skills on you, so you also increase your survivability like this. I mean, it may sound weird, but that was what I was thinking in my head. Except that's not what any battle reports are showing me. Think about two players. Player A upgrades attack every chance he gets. Player B prioritizes health. Same heroes, similar gear, same troop type. When the fight starts, a player A probably gets the nicer looking damage numbers for the first few seconds. Everything looks great. But then something interesting starts happening. His march begin to lose units more faster. Healing become weaker because there are fewer troops left. His active skills happen less often because the fight ends sooner. Every buff lose value because the march disappear earlier. Meanwhile, the player B is still standing there, still attacking, still triggering passive, still triggering healing, still forcing the enemy to fight longer than they want. That's why experienced players often describe health as the best trading stat. Not because it looks impressive, because it's changing the entire fight. And think about that. You cannot actually see the health. When you go outside and you fight, the only thing you see is the numbers you're doing. So the health is something like is very important but invisible at first place. And once I start paying attention to this, I notice something else. People love comparing heroes. Here, this hero is broken, this hero is weak, this commander needs buff. But they rarely compare the actual stats behind those heroes. Sometimes the hero isn't stronger at all, the account simply invested differently. I have seen players lose to someone using almost the exact same march and immediately assume it was just hero stars, or gear, or spending, when in reality the stat distribution was doing the huge amount of work. That's why reports are so important. You can actually start seeing where fights are won, not just who won. And I'm going to share you one report where I basically get destroyed. My Lupo with Atiwa and Zhao Yun against Cirrus. What a surprise! Cirrus with Roland and what was the name? I forgot. But yeah, let's check out the stats difference. Total damage, as you can see, total hit, heal, and etc. This is going to be the buffs, but look at the buffs. Now here comes the interesting part, okay? The might attack is like close to double. Strategy. The health here, I think this is the key one. The health here. And he's having like, except for cavalry I have like 60%, but for rest of the troops I have like 29. Obviously this is a castle attack. He basically attacked my castle, but at the end of the day you can see the clear difference in those buffs, especially the HP. The HP is like 3 times. That's why he gets some very nice traits against me. And this is a real report that is actually proving my point, where just the HP is with key. Because look at this thing. I mean, 659. Just let's look the enemy buffs. Might attack 659. If I add like 50%, it's not going to matter that much. But if I add like 50% on the health, this is going to be 50% more buff for the HP of the troops. And if we go and check it out, the HP, for example, I'm going to go here, and you can see the health is like 146. This is a tier 7, just want to point out. It's close to same like defense. Obviously for cavalry, actually for all of the troops, the only thing that's changed is attack and defense. The HP stayed the same. So yeah, it's also very important stat that we have to keep in mind, because yeah, if we have some decent attack, we're going to do good damage, but at the end of the day we're not going to survive. One of the things I always enjoy doing is looking beyond the final results. If you march straight evenly but one survive with significant more troops left, I immediately start asking, and this is what I did with this report: was the hero choice? Definitely Zeros is going to, is countering Kubo, let's be honest. Zeros is countering Kubo. Or was the survivability? But it's one thing, the countering is completely different to have this crazy buff advantage. More often than people realize, it's survivability. Here's another thing I don't think gets talked about enough. Health also make every other investment better. Imagine spending months improving your health, healing, buying stronger rings, getting better gems, upgrading gear. Now imagine your March dies before any of those things really have time to work. Because let's be honest, I mean, the more faster you're dying, the less chance you're going to have, for example, with Wubu to trigger this ring. Or with, okay, this is actually more passive one, reduce, but yeah, it's just less chance you're having to trigger your spells, which is actually a problem because you're losing damage just by dying more faster. And it's not only about the ring, about the gear, it's also about the heroes. Those and you invest in those things, and those investments start losing their value. Health giving them time to matter. Health is going to give them the time to get triggered. It's like buying the best engine possible, then putting it into a car with paper wheels. You're improving something that never gets to reach his potential. The players who understand this don't just stack health because it's defensive, they stack it because it increases the effectiveness of everything else they already invest in. And that's a completely different mindset. That is also why you will see often you're going to see veteran players making recommendation that newer players think sounds strange. Somebody asks, what should I upgrade first? They're expecting attack or might. Instead, they hear health. At first, it feels disappointing. It doesn't sound powerful, but veterans aren't thinking about one battle. They're thinking about thousands of future trades. Every single fight becomes slightly more efficient. Every hospital bill get a little smaller. Every healing cycle become more valuable. Those tiny advantages stack. And strategy games is all about stacking advantages, not chasing flashy updates. So if you're currently deciding what to upgrade next, I do ask I do ask you I do ask myself one question, or ask yourself one question. Are you trying to make your first skill hit harder, or are you trying to make your entire march survive long enough to keep fighting? Because those are two different goals. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest mindset shift you can make in Age of Empire Mobile. I'm curious what your experience has been. Have you started prioritizing health already, or were you like me and naturally assume attack had come first?